Hello, welcome everyone. In today's podcast, I'm really excited to have Manny Singh joining us. Manny has over 2 decades of experience in tech, product development, and ecosystem building. He's currently the Vice President of Product Management at Qualcomm Technology, focusing on industrial and IoT solutions. He's all about empowering developers and startups to innovate at the edge. Today, we're going to dive into some fascinating topics with Manny, including Manny's take on AI, how Edge AI fits into the IoT landscape, and Qualcomm's recent acquisition of Edgeimpulse. Welcome, Manny.
Thank you, Louis.
First of all, given your role, what do you do to enable developers?
Great. Well, first of all, very excited to be here. Be part of Edgeimpulse Imagine Innovator Conference. So super excited. In regards to what we do here at Qualcomm, and specifically my role as the enablement of development community, we think of this as something that we need to enable all the way from silicon to application deployment and management, the production-ready applications and solutions. So we enable developers all the way from someone who is trying to build an embedded hardware, providing all the resources and tools needed for that. Or if they're trying to now customize the BSP for that hardware using our upstream open source software, as well as proprietary components that are needed to really make the best use of the capabilities of our platform, to then making the developer tools available for them to build applications like an IDE, as well as all of the application development infrastructure, such as SDKs, containers, Dockers, and then moving on, the ability to then build and deploy AI models. And this is where we'll talk more about Edgeimpulse. That's where Edgeimpulse becomes super important. So, and then at the last piece, but not the least, is the ability to then monitor and manage all of these models and redeploy these applications as these model learn new things. So we look at this as I said, all the way from silicon to application development and deployment and management of these devices in the field.
And here we've been speaking about developers, but how do you define developer? Is it like, for example, an early stage student is considered as a developer? I've seen that you've got some university programs as well to target them.
Yeah.
But most of the tools, I believe, for Qualcomm are like processor tools.
Correct. Yeah. So our, the developer persona that we target is anywhere from someone who's a customer and partner trying to develop hardware based on our platform to even into the general developer community, for example, students and hobbyists and pro developers. So we're trying to address all of these personas by giving them the tools that are needed by them to do their own development.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who's trying to develop, embedded hardware, they may need different types of resources and tools, design guidelines, reference designs, and so on. While someone who's a student and a hobbyist, they may just be building an application. Right. So there are different needs for different personas. So we're trying to build these resources in a way that, all of these developer communities can make use of it.
That's great. And now let's also kick off with a fundamental question. We're going to speak about Edge AI. So how do you define Edge AI at Qualcomm?
Yeah, I mean, AI in general, it's the ability for a device to learn, act, and now with the new generative AI, generate new content. So all of these devices that are connected and they have the ability to sense things in the real world, they generate a lot of this data that, the AI helps you learn the patterns from that data and then be able to gain insights and then act and automate processes, right? So that's one category of this. And then the other one is the generation of new content where you have lots and lots of information that you want to be able to consume and then be able to augment human intelligence based on all the things that you've learned, which is very hard for somebody to do it in a manual way. So So that's the sort of the scope of all of the different types. And there are different modalities of these sensing elements, all the way from time series data to vision, audio, multimodal data, and so on. In terms of enablement at the edge, I mean, this is part of our core strategy at Qualcomm, is to enable AI at the edge. We believe that for reasons, for example, bandwidth, latency, economics, reliability, and privacy, all of these things are super important for anybody who's trying to deploy a solution. And if you look at all of these factors, the edge AI becomes a core component of these deployments. And Qualcomm, with our history of building silicon, enabling edge AI all the way, I still remember back 10 years ago when I started working on AI. We started with smartphones, and now we've enabled AI at the edge on XR, on automobiles, and now in IoT. So we've taken a pretty system level approach to solving the challenge that you have at the edge, which is the constrained amount of compute, the memory, and so we've been working on this problem by designing our system, which is a combination of heterogeneous compute like the CPU, GPU, NPU, as well as DSP. So we've solved this problem from many different point of view and enabled heterogeneous compute that enables very low power AI compute at the edge. There's a lot that we have built in our systems. Our proprietary accelerator, AI accelerator, the NPU, it provides the ability to have dedicated compute for scalar and matrix multiplications and tensor operators. So all of that, we've been building this system over the last 10, 15 years and doing a lot of research, both on the hardware as well as on the software side, is part of our core strategy to bring the best possible way to, execute the workload that is needed on the edge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, got you. And so you're very familiar with all the IoT business, etc. So when do you think the intersection between edge AI and IoT started to happen, and how do you see this moving forward in the future?
Yeah, I mean, to me, IoT and edge AI is like peanut butter and jelly. It's everywhere you see, whether it's predictive maintenance or anomaly detection or fault detection or healthcare, there are just unlimited number of use cases where you want to be able to gather intelligence at the edge, and be able to then design your processes that then you can get value from, whether it's better productivity or safety, or any other type of processes where you need to be able to actuate something based on all the data that you're learning from. So we believe that IoT probably presents the best opportunity for us to enable AI, edge AI, and be able to create applications that will be useful for this industry.
No, great, thank you. Now I'd like to dive a bit deeper into all the Qualcomm developer tools that you provide. So first, one of the big issue is having access to physical hardware.
Yeah.
How does Qualcomm answer this question?
Yeah, I mean, developer kit is probably one of the most important part, so that you can enable a large set of developer community. This is something that we're starting to address. We have lots of developer kits available in today based on our QCS 6490, 8550, and other SoCs. But I think we want to reduce the friction to the point where developers don't even have to think about, hey, what am I going to get from this particular hardware? We want to give them the ability to be able to evaluate the performance of a certain hardware even before they make a decision to actually purchase, and then start connecting all of the things that they need to a real physical device. So what we are doing is we're enabling what we call Qualcomm Device Cloud, where we have some of these platforms now starting to become available. We announced at the Embedded World that we will make 6490 QCS 6490 platform available on our Qualcomm Device Cloud, which now anybody can go in and make use of it for free. So if you want to go in and develop an application, you should be able to develop an application and deploy it in the cloud without ever having to leave your environment and be able to test that. And so in future, we're going to be expanding that and adding more devices on the cloud so that developers have an easy time to understand the platform, right? So they can, like, for example, we showcased at the Embedded World, you can build a machine learning model using Edge Impulse. And once the artifact is ready, you can just drop it onto the device cloud and there you go, right? And I know you don't have access to the physical device, but we made the system work in a way that your local camera, for example, can stream all the way to the device cloud and be able to get the inference back. So, we thought about all of these things. And so there is a way for people to get started very quickly.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And then there is something as well, like I want to understand a bit more, is the Visual Studio extension.
Mm-hmm.
All the developers now are very familiar with the Visual Code Studio. I think they have taken the market in just a few years. How does it work? How do you want to address the developers with this?
No, so obviously, our first release that we made available with QCS 6490 had Yocto Linux, and there is no graphical user environment in it for easy configuration and management of the device, and then be able to have an environment that's pre-configured with all the required toolchain that you need to develop your application. So what we did at Qualcomm is we took the Visual Code Studio and added our extensions into it and made it available at Embedded World. We announced that and we showcased it, where now, with the Qualcomm Linux, you have the ability to easily set up and configure your device really out of the box and be able to get started very quickly. And then it brings in all the required environment, like the ability to run sample applications right out of the box, without having to go out and download and then trying to figure out how to run those. It's already available in the studio, so it's much easier experience. And then we then have the ability to modify those applications, create a brand new project where all of the necessary toolchain and the libraries are available for you to then get started. The other thing it does is it brings in the Qualcomm AI Hub, which we can talk a little bit more about later. But Qualcomm AI Hub, just as an introduction, is a repository of pre-optimized models, pre-trained, pre-optimized models that are available for Qualcomm hardware. The IDE has the ability to bring those models in easily and be able to download those models and plug it into your application. So that was another thing. And then last but not the least, we also brought in Edge Impulse artifacts. Once again, we just dropped it on your hardware and be able to then use the VS Code extension ID to use that artifact to build applications and then flash the device and run that program. So what we are trying to do is make the developer journey easier with the VS Code extension IDE, and we're going to continue to enhance it. We released our beta version actually just this month on the 11th. So it should be available for anybody to go out there and get started with it.
Okay, cool. And now I'd like to understand a bit more, like how do you, what tools do you have to optimize the model to make them more suited for Qualcomm hardware? What kind of tools do you have? What kind of process do you use?
Yeah, so we talked about Edge AI earlier and the constraint that it has, right, in terms of compute and memory and the power efficiency that it needs. So the very important part for us is to make sure that the models that are being executed on the platform can be are efficient. So obviously that's something that is at the core of making these models efficient. So we have tool chains that are available for you to quantize the model and be able to then tune it for the accuracy. And so there is a AMAT tool that's available. But if you want to just get started, you could actually go to our AI Hub and download a pre-trained model that is already pre-quantized, pre-optimized. You could just download that and run as a sample app. But we all know, right? I mean, running a sample app is one thing, doing a demo is one thing, but we wanted to look at this as a problem where if you want to go beyond just simple demo and you want to create your own, bring your own model, we have this AMAT tool that gives you, and that's going to be integrated within the AI Hub itself, where you can actually bring your own model, and then the AI Hub will help you then quantize and optimize and compile it for the right hardware. So all of that toolchain exists today to be able to bring that model on the edge. In addition to that, of course, with Edge Impulse, the developers now have the ability to start from the data and go all the way to the deployment. And there are tool chains within Edge Impulse, and you know this better than I do, is that you have the ability to then take the TensorFlow model and be able to quantize it using the open source tools as well. So there are many different paths, and these are all well documented in if you go to our website, you'll be able to see the end-to-end developer workflow that will help you, it'll guide you through the process.
Now, one of the points that I see, so that's part of the model training. But then once you have the model, how can you run it efficiently on the device? So you provide some SDKs that are highly optimized for different purposes, right?
Right. So obviously, we want to remove as much complexity out of the developer developing an application. We want to take that complexity out, and you don't have to really know a whole lot about our hardware to be able to build an application. So for that purpose, we have these SDKs. The one that helps you build a multimedia and AI application is what we call a Qualcomm Intelligent Multimedia SDK. So this is a GStreamer based SDK that allows you to build. We have about 30 plus plugins for multimedia, networking, and so on. So you have and AI, of course. And so all of those complexities of how do you instantiate multimedia and networking and AI under the hood is all hidden in the GStreamer APIs. So people are very familiar with these. Are extensions we have built. These are plugins that are available already that people can use and then build their applications on top of it. And then on top of that, we also have the ability to do containerization. We have a container runtime that allows that actually is hardware accelerated, and it's in a non-privileged. It runs in a non-privileged mode that allows people to be able to build these containers and be able to deploy this on our platform. So we have tools that can help the developers pretty much do anything. And all of these are well documented as well.
Yeah. And then once you have built your application, you're Dockerized it, etc.
Yes.
So you've recently acquired as well Foundries.io to manage the deployment at scale. Can you tell us about that? Why and how does it really match the Qualcomm story as well?
Yeah. So we talked about earlier, right? We care about the developer experience all the way from silicon to deployment. So deployment is a very, very important part. I was just reading this quote from Dr. Vijay Reddy from Harvard.
Yeah.
He mentioned that
one of our panel for.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I really liked one of his comments where he says, everybody wants to be an astronaut, which means, everybody's fascinated by these new AI models, the next big AI model that they want to build. But very few people are spending time building the rocket engine itself, which is the system. In this case, he draws the analogy towards building an ML system and a production-ready, deployment-ready system, right? I mean, there are so many challenges, and a lot of these challenges are addressed by Edge Impulse, but then at the end is the deployment. And so Foundries is an important part of this puzzle because it allows you to manage your devices in the field. It allows you to manage the software, the ability to do over-the-air updates, and do fleet management as well. So it's a full system in itself. So if you're if you're a customer that has, let's say, Yocto Linux based device, and then you want to be able to make sure that it remains secure and it's fully always updated, this is a system that you can deploy. In case of AI models, obviously the model is never static, right? I mean, you deploy a model, you learn from things that are happening in the real world, you gain new data, and you want to be able to monitor that. You want to be able to then learn from the new data, retrain the model, and redeploy it. So Foundries provides you that ability that once you have this new version of the model, that it can help you, deploy the retrained model on the device. So again, we're looking at this end-to-end picture, and Foundries plays a very, very important role in it.
Yeah, no, it's a never-ending story. Like models keep on evolving.
Absolutely,
with new data. So that I'm well aware of that. Speaking about that, so you also acquired us at Jimpulse recently. So you did Ask Me Anything with Zach, our CEO, lately. But I'd like for the audience to just why you acquired at Jimpulse, and we're super excited to be part of the Qualcomm ecosystem now. But yeah, can you say a few more words about that move?
Yes, no, this is. I'm very, very excited to be part of this whole collaboration. We started that when we started working together on one of our platforms, but then later on acquiring and now learning more about the platform. The thing that I was mentioning earlier is that it's very important to not just focus on building the next model, but be able to look at the machine learning system as a whole. And in my view, Edge Impulse provides you that machine learning system. And it starts with the ability to acquire data, to be able to label the data, pre-process the data, clean the data. This entire machine learning pipeline of the ability to do the experimentation, the auto ML piece of it, where you're really trying to look at the entire space of different models and how they will behave, and then optimizing the model for what you need, the accuracy, the latency, performance. So you make those trade-offs, and then be able to then deploy at the edge in a seamless fashion, and then be able to monitor it. To me, yeah, you could do this, roll your own, and spend all your time trying to write this entire pipeline on your own, or use maybe 5 different tools to connect them all together. I think having one system that you can use end to end, to me, is super compelling. And I took some machine learning classes a few years ago, and I can go back to my days of doing coding by hand, and now I look at this system. Of course, that really helped in those days, but now if you were to really build a system on your own, it could take you months to do it.
Even more. So
yeah. So I think this is a very, very compelling platform that brings all of these different aspects of building a machine learning system together, which to me sometimes people underestimate when they start to use, when they start to do this by hand. So understanding all of the different pieces of deploying models at the edge and then bringing this system is super complex. And I think Edge Impulse is the right tool for, in my view, to help solve that problem. So that's why I'm super excited to have Edge Impulse.
You even got a t-shirt.
Yeah, I'm fully decked out with the
socks I've seen.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm fully assimilated into the Edge Impulse ecosystem. Yeah.
And maybe a last question for the audience that is probably already a bit familiar with Edge Impulse, but maybe less with the Qualcomm. So what new Qualcomm resources will be available to Edge Impulse users? We plugged the RB3 Gen 2 recently. Are there any other boards that will come soon?
Yeah. Obviously, RB3 Gen 2 is one, but then we have new platforms that we announced, IQ9 series, IQ8 series of products. These are more industrial platforms that have way more compute capability as well as AI capabilities. One of them was showcased at the Embedded World, where we show a cascading of the CMA model with the vision language model. I thought that was a pretty amazing demo that you guys did in a very short period of time. So that's kind of the window into the things to come in near future. The IQ9 EDK will be available sometime very soon. And then, of course, our partners are building hardware as well. Like we have Thundercom that recently released a Rubik 5.3, and then we have another partner of ours that announced a kit. It's called Tachyon, and it's also based on 6490. So these are kits that are much more optimized, and they are available for developers to use as well. So there, in terms of hardware, going to continue to bring those things in the market. And as I mentioned earlier, the device cloud is something that is easy for us to just make it available, and we're going to make an effort to bring as many platforms as we can as soon as we can. So watch out for those announcements in a near future.
Well, thanks a lot, Manny. For those of you who don't know or are not familiar yet with the Qualcomm ecosystem, feel free to have a look at their website and documentation. Manny, that conversation was
Thank you, Louis.
insightful.
Yes.
Thanks a lot.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, thanks.